I know it's the 29th of June and everyone's awaiting the World Cup final. That is going to be another India-South Africa fixture for sure. But usse pehle, aaj Chennai mein jo test match hua hai, we will be discussing that. Day 2 of the only test match between the Indian and the South African women. We've got Jeet and Neha as usual. Kal humne dekha Shefali and Smriti ensured ki bhai India very easily cruised past 500 run mark. And today they reached the 600 run mark. Richa Ghosh, Harmanpreet Kaur did their job, so to say, and then it was the South African batters' turn, something we'd spoken about yesterday as well. Guys, all in all, a very riveting day's play today, yaar. Jeet, you can go first.
Yeah, sadly, I couldn't watch a lot of it, but in the last few hours that I watched, it shows the kind of South African grit that was back into play and the determination that they had. So just losing 4 wickets by the end of the day and managing to score over 200 was actually phenomenal. So it's as we talked about. I mean, they've got batting depth and they've got certain batters who've got the technique as well to survive in this particular format of the game. So they showed great application against the spinners, and they've at least put themselves into a position where they can at least draw the test match. Let's forget about the win right now. That's a little far fetched, but at least draw is on. So good of them to actually put up that fight.
The draw is definitely on the cards, and who knows if somehow they're able to even eke out a victory. I know it's very improbable, but it did seem improbable yesterday that South Africa by the end of day's play today सिर्फ 4 ही wicket होंगे. Neha, fantastic effort from them as well. We can't sort of not look past that.
Absolutely, just can't discount the effort today because I think they just turned up much better with the ball today. Because at one point, I really thought, Harmanpreet Kaur and Richa Ghosh would go for that 100, and put up a bigger total. I think even just yesterday we were looking at India going for that 675, 700. But to restrict India to that sort of a total, I mean, it's still a lot. But, getting those key wickets, I think was a much better showing. And today, as Jeet said, you could see that Proteas fire and that grit. They actually wanted to fight and, make a statement. And even when they came out to bat, that intent was very much visible. You could see how India didn't get wickets up front. Just started coming in much later. Sneh Rana got you those crucial wickets, and then the floodgates kind of opened. But to still end up with a respectable 236 is massive. And I'm pretty sure they're going to avoid the follow-on. I think there's no concerns on that front, but definitely a lot to look forward to as the Test match progresses.
100%. I mean, tomorrow is also going to be moving day that way. It's also a Sunday. Let's hope there are also a lot more people coming in, viewing the game live from the stadium as well. Let's have the match summary out for the niche, for the initiative. Like we said earlier, India started day's play today at 5:29 for 4, and then they took on from where they left off yesterday. Neha, again, in terms of the first session, the way the Indian batters played, you were talking about how the South African bowlers are actually a lot better than yesterday that way. So, what did you make of the first session?
Yeah, I mean, the first session, I think, I was very convinced, with South Africa's bowling because somewhere India had the potential to, kind of run away with the match. But the manner in which they got back, especially, I think, Tumi Sekhukhune, getting the wicket of Harmanpreet Kaur, and South Africa was lucky, to get their reviews right as well. And even like Lava, the way she got Richa's wicket, I think that was also pretty impressive. It was another LBW thing that, kind of worked well in their favor. I thought India would still bat because I saw, Deepti Sharma was padded up and even Pooja Vastrakar. But eventually, I think they decided, what, might as well just declare it. But credits to South Africa for their bowling effort today, much better. And I think even Delmi Tucker, in the post-match presser after yesterday had spoken about how they are still feeling positive. They can actually put up a fight against this competitive Indian batting unit, and they exactly did that. It also goes to show a little bit about the conditions, right? You can see those cracks appearing. The pitch is kind of deteriorating. It's becoming really flat and favoring the batters a lot. So I wouldn't be really surprised, if South Africa bats another day also tomorrow because of the way Marizanne Kapp is just setting in, and Sune is also set that base, right? So South Africa still looks good, and it doesn't seem like this one-sided deluge or dominance imposed by India.
Valid points, those, and of course, we'll also get to South Africa's batting. But before that, again, Jeet, thoughts on Richa Ghosh in particular, because Harman, we know, proven customer when it comes to international cricket, not much to worry about that. Richa Ghosh in Test cricket was something we all were looking forward to because she had the smarts. She had shown before as well that she has the ability to adapt and whatnot. Clearly, she showed that even today. Do you think this was a good knock and all in all a good innings compare, I mean, as far as India's batting is concerned, because Suri here goes on to say, I really feel Kaur's captaincy hurts India constantly. Meg Lanning would have made a sporting declaration if she was the Indian skipper, could have declared at 450. Clearly, they were looking at going for a score, and also probably the landmark would have also affected a bit. Ki Richa Ghosh was at 80 odd, if I'm not wrong, 89 is what she was. 86, sorry, is what she was this was for. Probably was waiting for her also to get to her, maiden test century. All in all, not a bad innings by India standards. Of course, it's 600 plus.
Oh, it was a top-notch innings. Yesterday, I think she was in the 40 odds or 30 odd balls when the day ended. So that's what you expect from Richa Ghosh, and you need somebody like Richa Ghosh in your batting order down the order because such kind of wicket keepers, if they can give you those quick knocks, it makes a huge difference to the eventual score that you end up with and also the momentum going into the next innings. We have seen a lot of such wicket keepers in men's cricket. In women's cricket, there are still quite a few of them right now. Alisa Healy may be at the top of the order, and that's pretty much it. Nobody's as aggressive. So, watching what Richa Ghosh does in this format of the game is always refreshing. So, I think it was a fantastic knock. But coming to Suri's point, I don't think how, even Meg Lanning would have declared at 450 if this is the same run rate that Australia would have maintained. Even they would have looked to go big because the pitch at that point in time did not have so many demons in them. So, you want to bat all, you probably want to bat once and just, try to win the game by an innings because at the end of the day, these are 4-day test matches. So your best chance comes to pile on the misery, get into 550 plus, 600 plus, just bat once, win the game. So I think even Meg Lanning would have probably followed the same suit. I don't see a lot of difference. So India also have done the very same thing, and that's what I mentioned that if Richa Ghosh hangs in for 10, 15 overs, not only would she end up with 80, 90 or 100, a quick fire one, but it will also get India to 600 a lot quickly. And that's exactly what happened. So it was very clear that India were waiting for Richa's 100. They didn't get that, and then they declared. And there was no point. I mean, for Pooja Vastrapkar and Dipti Sharma to come in and play their gear one, gear two knocks like Dipti already did, that was risky. So fair call from there.
Yeah, exactly. And we also need to take into account the number of overs played by India. Like Jeet mentioned, you can't just look at the score in isolation and say, "Yeah, ये तो बहुत बड़ा score है, this is unnecessary." The fact of the matter is they've taken just 115 overs. Australia, for all you know, would have taken the same number of overs to get to the 450 that Suri is talking about there. Like under normal circumstances, if the test match was say going on in Australia, so you have to take into account all those factors. And all said and done, landmarks at the end of the day, it is important, especially when it's a young player. It gives them a lot of motivation. So you also need to take that into account. There are times when you have to play for landmarks, and this surely was one of those days. It wasn't like the game was hanging by a thread ki yaar landmark ke chakkar mein match hi gawa baithenge. So it wasn't to be the case really. So all's well that ends well that way. And Neha, in terms of the pitch, Sportsman goes on to say, "Hey guys, the pitch is hitting bowlers right now, expecting the match to end by tomorrow." Interesting because even the third session, the last session, did not really show any demons in the pitch. Kapp was more than happy to bide her time, and she seemed very much at ease playing the reliefs.
Yeah, definitely. I think you could see, the pitch is clearly favoring the batters now. I think given that men's test match which happened, between India and England, where India piled on some 700, or you could see how even, England was putting up good totals like that. But somewhere, I think we should give credit to the South African batting effort as well. Sune Lee's, as much as there's been so much criticism, about how she's not been able to get those big scores in the ODI series, has actually done very good in this, specific South Africa's first innings, scoring that knock of 65 in 164, taking her time to settle in. I don't think she was feeling any challenge from the Indian bowlers. I know we did see a lot of catches getting dropped. Shubha Satish, we will talk about her fielding as well here and there. But still credit to the South African batters for the way they applied themselves. Even Annika Bosch, I know the score just reads 39, but the manner in which she was batting just showed so much maturity. It was not like, it's such a 603 total, it's so daunting, and, probably I'm going to end up throwing my wicket. I actually could see a lot of intent. And now with Marizanne Kapp too, right? She's an absolute fighter. We've seen her do it time and again. I think off air also we were discussing that test match versus England in 2022 where she notched up that massive 150, So in that sense, I think South Africa would still, want to keep all the hopes alive that this is not going to be a one-sided drubbing, and they certainly have a lot more to offer. And I'd like to see how Nadine de Klerk also kind of gets going and puts this partnership with Marizanne Kapp that would actually benefit South Africa.
Completely agree with those points there. In fact, I feel this is the pair for South Africa. Nadine de Klerk, Marizanne Kapp, arguably their most experienced middle order batters right now, so they will have to, soak up a bit of that pressure. Not that there's a lot remaining. It's clearly now the Indian side that will be under the pump to get those wickets, because South Africa have done a good job of ensuring कि यार आज ऑल आउट तो नहीं होना है, आराम से खेलेंगे वहां पे. They've played 72 overs so far. Hopefully they can double that count. Nothing like it if they are able to do that come tomorrow. Again, Jeet, Neha mentioned that Marizanne Kapp's a fighter. You know that. You see Marizanne Kapp, you know she's a fighter. It's hard to look past that. She has that intimidating nature to her, and this is why it was going to be that much more crucial. She was also going to be available for him with the ball. Wasn't to be the case, but boy, has she stepped up with the bat in hand. First, the fantastic century in the second ODI, and now as well in the test match.
I think those steely eyes always, give away how determined she is. And she's that only player who doesn't, crack a smile at all when the match is going on. So Sune, when Marizanne Kapp got to her milestone, Sune was, hugging her with all that smile. Marizanne Kapp had no emotions. She's like, nope, job is not done. This is half done. I've still got to go a long way. So she's very determined and she's very, very focused on, getting the job done. And that is something that has been constant throughout her career with the bat, with the ball, irrespective of the format that she plays in. And that's actually very good to see. It shows how focused she is, and she's not getting, perturbed by the fact that India have got 600 plus on board. She's just out there getting a job done, and she's doing that phenomenally well. So, and of course, in this lineup as well, if I look at all the batters, I see five of them having the technique of at least survival. There is Aneka Bosch, there is Laura Hulfart, there is Sune, there is Marizanne Kapp, and there is Nadine de Klerk. But out of all the five, it's Marizanne Kapp who probably has the game against spin and against pace both. So she's going to be vital, and she was always going to be vital, of course. Playing purely as a batter, you have a lot more to offer. So you've got a lot more job, a lot more responsibility on your shoulders to, get it done. So she's got the start. She'll probably look to convert it into a big one. And in games like these, like Neha also mentioned, Aneka Bosch getting just 39. So it may not look good in terms of the score, but when you're chasing such a mammoth total, what really matters is the balls column. How many balls you have survived? Because it's a 4-day test. You're probably looking at a draw right now. So how many balls have you survived? Bosch has done that. Sunil has done that. Kapp has done that, and she's probably still going to stretch it. And Nadine de Klerk as well. So great knock and a good start.
100% the steely eyes, the determination. In fact, what's actually gotten me cracking in my head is what little I saw of Annie Dirks in the first ODI. She's one of those very bubbly characters. Now, two of them in the middle playing a test match. That'll definitely make for some entertaining viewing, should that happen tomorrow. But again, sure, South Africa's batters were good. They consumed a lot of deliveries. They soaked up the pressure. But thoughts on the Indian bowling, guys? It's not like the bowling also was, to the best of. I mean, I don't think they bowled to the best of their ability. Sure, there were a couple of catches here and there. Richa Ghosh also, we know of the sort of missed opportunities over there with her as well. But all in all, not the greatest of efforts. Something you did not expect from India, given how we raved about bhai India test match cricket के लिए this women's side is right up there. England Australia को हराया, ये सब वो सब करके हमने ही बड़ा चढ़ा के बोला था, rightfully so. But आज वो दिखी नहीं वो Indian side. Neha, you could probably sort of start with this.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point because somewhere, I had a lot of expectations from our bowling lineup to get those wickets up front and everything. See, from a cricketing perspective, great, If South Africa is putting up a fight, it makes for great viewing, great test match, you're backing the underdog and everything. But again, from an Indian perspective, you would have expected the bowlers to turn up. I mean, Renuka too, right? With that new ball, she wasn't looking as threatening as she did, in that ODI series as well. Even our spinners, for that matter. Like Sneha was getting a few chances here and there. Even, the wickets tally says a good three, shows a good 3 wickets. But Rajeshwari Gaikwad and Deepti Sharma also, they were able to generate that turn, make the most of the surface, but it just wasn't challenging enough. And somewhere you could see, the South Africans were just with that intent, how we will ensure that we don't go to the situation of fall on. We will just bat it out, even if it means, consuming a lot of deliveries. And somewhere, yeah, it just didn't feel like, they were challenging the, South African batters as much.
I have a few more thoughts on that, but before that, I also want to take Suri's comment here. Can the panel talk about the missed chance of India debuting a left-arm seamer in this game? I just sort of had to look at the squad as well. I was trying to think, kaun hai bhai left-arm seamer? And Surya, I don't see a left arm seamer being a part of the squad. There's Saika Ishak, who's yet another left arm spinner. Not sure who are you referring to. If you have any names in mind, because Meghna Singh is the only other backup seamer. And fair to say, I feel I'm speaking for Jeet and Neha as well when I say कि हाँ Meghna Singh अभी तो नहीं चाहिए फिलहाल. But again, in that sense, Jeet, in terms of India's bowling effort, clearly, matlab, you wanted to see a bit more from them.
That's true. I think what is really important on tracks like this is patience. Because, of course, there is not a lot that's happening. There were odd balls that were gripping. So, basically, what you have on offer is slow turn. So, of course, batters can go on the back foot. They can always adjust to the pace of the delivery and defend. So you always got to be patient here. And I think that is where I think the spinners lack patience, be it Rajeshwari Gaikwad or Dipti Sharma. Sneh Rana was still quite good, but other spinners did lack those, that patience because they were providing those boundary balls in between. So you've got to put the ball in one spot and just be patient because wickets are going to come. It's not that pitch is extremely flat either. If you saw how Laura Hulbard was dismissed, that was good indication of the track does playing some tricks, if not complete tricks of being a completely horrible pitch altogether. So there is something that's happening. There is some purchase, and of course there is a bit of rough as well. You've got to understand that not a lot of overs or pace has been thrown down. So that rough is also minimal. It's developing right now. It's getting progressively worse. So it's of course something for the spinners to make use of, which Sneh Rana was doing at the end of the day. She was getting the ball to actually come back in very sharply when the ball pitched in that rough. So I think they lack that patience. And coming to the closest fielders, again, this is a format that, of course, women are not used to. So it's always going to be challenged. In the white ball formats, you don't have forward short leg, you don't have a silly point, you don't have a leg slip. So it takes practice and it takes a lot of that. So you're not used to those kind of situations. You've got to be very, very reactive and you've got to be really good with your reflexes. So practice, of course, makes you perfect here. And it's always going to be a challenge. They are not used to it. So, whenever the ball comes at different heights and different angles, adjusting to it or, just being up to the game to actually grab that is always going to be a challenge. So that is also where, India kind of lag because had those chances been taken, the things could have been a lot more different right now. Maybe South Africa might as well have ended the day being 6 down or 7 down. So all I really want to see from the Indian spinners in particular is to have a lot of patience here.
Fair point that, and in fact, while sort of talking about the bowling bit as well, my colleague Gaurav Nandan Tripathi, again, guys, he will be writing a couple of pieces today. He's also written about yesterday's day as well. Do check that out on our site, cricket.com right now. Please do that. So I was having a chat with him, and he also spoke about the same thing, how Rajeshwari Gaikwad ended up not attacking the stumps enough because as the only spinner who's going to take it away from the right-handers, of which South Africa has no dearth of, she didn't do enough of, attacking the off stump, trying to sort of hit the middle leg and take it to top of off. That wasn't happening. She was consistently bowling wide outside off stump. By wide, I don't mean wide, fourth stump, fifth stump, which is still wide enough for the South African batters to either go for their drives or just leave the ball without having to be bothered कि यार LBW का क्या हो सकता है या फिर bold का कुछ हो सकता है. That wasn't really there. And given that, it sort of rendered her that much more, inconsistent, so to say. And Neha, again, in terms of the bowling as well, you also wanted to add a couple of points about the fielding. Do you first want to complete that?
Oh yes, definitely. I think just looking at the fielding effort as well. If your bowlers are generating those chances, you need that kind of support from your fielders. They have to complement, right? And talking about Shubha Satish in particular, I think even on the comms, I think W.V. Raman mentioned how stability kind of restricts the mobility. Okay, so here what he's talking about is how Shubha Satish is like feet was entirely like this. It was not very agile. So because of which she couldn't get to most of those catches, and they were all just missed opportunities. Besides that as well, you could just see how many opportunities were just there. And even Sneh Rana in the slips, she first moved to the right and then she moved to the left. Again, you're losing a few seconds here and there, right? So those opportunities I think will come to haunt India. If South Africa does end up making the most of tomorrow. They just trail by what 367 runs. So if not for a win, at least they would want to go for that draw. But India's fielding did not look up to the mark. Again, we have to acknowledge they don't play this format often, and just trying to be the best in Test cricket fielding is very different from white ball. So in that sense, India still has some areas to iron out.
Yeah, and like Jeet also mentioned, close in areas pe fielding karna is not something they're experienced with. It's not something they are equipped with because limited overs mein, we don't really see that happen often enough. So you've probably got to cut them some slack. And like Neha mentioned, that is an area they will want to focus on. The more they play, the better they get at it. And yeah, so hopefully they will be able to do well for themselves. One batter who did do well for herself was, of course, Sune, who also happens to be our top performer for today. A fantastic knock, like Jeet spoke earlier. रन से ज्यादा बॉल्स पे हमें गौर करना चाहिए. 164 balls ensured that South Africa did not sort of fritter away and did not give the game away that easily. Jeet, sure, it started off a bit scratchily, but all in all, a very good knock, a much needed knock for her as well.
Yeah, it was much needed for her to regain that confidence. And we've been talking about how slow her knocks are in the ODIs. Getting 13 runs of 40 balls doesn't really cut out for that particular format. So if you want to play that brand of cricket, here's your format, here's your platform, deliver in a similar manner. And that's exactly what she did. So a terrific knock altogether. She had good control. Of course, initially she was scratchy, and that is always visible with Sune because she's a nervy starter. She's almost nervy all the time. And that tentativeness was there. But as she defended more balls, as she got the ball off the middle of her bat, you could see that confidence growing, and you could see that with her shot selection as well against spinners. Some of the shots that she hit was brilliant to watch, and particularly against Rajeshwari Gaikwad. So that confidence kept on growing. Yeah, gave a few chances here and there, but you need that kind of luck when you're struggling for form, when you don't have those big scores. You need luck to favor you as well in order to get some kind of score. And she was aided by that, which was definitely, I've got no issues with that. So a good knock. Hopefully this, translates into the other formats as well. Maybe second innings as well. If she has a similar impact in terms of the balls that she faces, then I think nothing better than that. So I'm just hoping that this carries on into the T20Is as well. I know it's kind of unlikely because T20Is and Sunil doesn't go hand in hand, but it's something for her to work around with. She needed the confidence, and that is something she has finally got. So good on her.
Couldn't help but chuckle, but there were a couple of murmurs of how, yeah, Sunny could potentially have been a part of the WPL. She's a good candidate. I mean, not just in hindsight, but in hindsight, though, it makes it, I mean, the whole chatter, the whole conversation itself sounds so ridiculous. But, anyways,
Yeah, no, but
yeah.
if she was actually contributing with the ball, and if she was in form with the ball as a wrist spinner, then maybe she had some chance. But purely as a batter, there is no way. There is no chance for her. So yeah, that was a long shot. People wanted so many of such players, but it was not happening.
That's right. Even with the ball, she sort of tried to now, switch from being a wrist spinner to, I don't want to call her an off spinner. I'll just say a finger spinner because she does this. She has that. She's got a bunch of tricks there. Let's hope she gains some consistency with all those variations, of course. And Neha, in terms of Sunil Lee's innings, again, the reason why it was so important, that innings in particular was so important, was because that was the glue. South Africa played 72 overs, yaar. Matlab, that's what, roughly 420, 430 balls. Her consuming over 1/3 of the deliveries ensure that the other batters were not that much under pressure. So, given this and given the context in which the way the South African batters were going to play this innings, a top knock once again.
Yeah, certainly. It was a top knock and taking absolutely nothing away from it. You could see, some of the commentators were getting a little restless. I don't know. I think they were just confused with the format. They're like, "Are she's taking so much time in this, that." But guys, come on, it is Test cricket. This is about the best of the best. You're grinding it out. You're, working hard to get those runs. And of course, she's going to take time. You have a target of, not target, you have like a deficit of 600 odd runs. And, you've lost your skipper, Laura Wolfart. Of course, you have to, bat it out there. And she showed why she's a senior in the team, has been playing for the longest time, has been such a brilliant servant of South Africa cricket, for the longest time. The tough years have, certainly made her hard. And I think this innings will definitely go down, to prove that she still has it in her. And we'll be interested to see how, South Africa capitalizes on something like this, because tomorrow again, new ball coming in, can India, make inroads and give South Africa some troubles. But with the way she set up, I think that really gave Marizanne couples, that sort of a confidence, and even the partnership they shared, I think that was very imperative for their prospects in this test. So all in all, I'm very impressed with her knock, and hopefully, she can find this form in other formats as well. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully, the knock sort of helps her get back that form, that lost form. I know it's been a very extended period. मतलब ऐसा भी नहीं कि एक साल हम शेफाली वर्मा के बारे में बात करते हैं, but unfortunately with Lee's it's been a fairly extended run of lean patch. So yeah, fingers crossed that this does help her get better across formats. Of course, we will talk about day 3 and what we are looking forward to it. Before that, let's just take a few comments. Kohli is like, of course, Kohli says, "Hi guys, hello." भाई बस आज देख लेना जो भी है ये जर्सी अभी के लिए आज 8 बजे guys. Of course, before I forget, we will be doing a watch along. It's going to be Avnish and me on this very couch where I will be backing the Proteas to clinch their first ever World Cup title. The Proteas, the male Proteas, that is, just to be clear. So fingers crossed something happens there as well. Good to see you cover women's cricket as well. Good on you. Thank you so much, Suri. Just make sure, guys, you are hitting the like button if you haven't already. Make sure you've subscribed to us if you haven't already. We will be covering the test matches. There's also going to be 3 T20Is. There's the Asia Cup coming up. Then New Zealand are potentially going to play India at home. Then there's, of course, the World Cup in October. So lots of cricket coming your way. Make sure you have tuned in here. Make sure you've subscribed to us if you haven't already. One-stop shop solution for your coverage of Indian cricket. And apart from that, never on the back foot fans represent, of course, Nikhil. There you go. Nicely done. I was talking about the selectors not showing a vision of selecting an Indian left arm seamer is what Suri says about what he meant, about what he was talking about earlier, that is. But again, heck on, yaar. I'm trying to think of left arm seamers worth being considered.
Anjali Sarvani came to my mind.
Yeah, Anjali Sarvani is an option. And of course, you can't look at somebody like Shraddha Pokharkar or it's too far-fetched right now.
But I rate Komal higher than Shraddha.
Yeah, Komal Sansad. Yeah. But for this format, I mean, not in the subcontinent. If this is being played somewhere in England or maybe New Zealand for some weird reasons, then it's a different thing. But not over here for sure.
And Anjali, the thing is, she definitely has the ability to move the ball, but बिल्कुल भी pace नहीं, बिल्कुल ही नहीं. There's not a lot going for. Even in the WPL, she did not look the part at all. So it's going to take her a bit of time. So yeah, left arm seamers, I can't think of too many. But if you're just talking about tearaway rookie, also goes on to add, marketing women's cricket is vital. Bringing in a couple of tearaway rookie paces during the time of selection would have helped, I feel. Bhai Shabnam Shakil ko liya tha, और like I don't think we can put it against the selection committee this time around. They've done a fairly good job of selecting the squad. A good mix of youngsters, a good mix of inexperienced rookies and experienced pros. So yeah, apart from that, I don't think there's any name you would say कि यार मतलब इसको ले जाना चाहिए था. She probably should consider herself unlucky. I don't think there are too many names coming to my mind that way.
No, and even India are far away from having a tearaway quick in the women's system. We don't have the Lauren Filers or Shabnam Ismails or Taylor Flemings. We are far away from that. Our quickest pacers are probably like 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. So there is a long way to go. So you can't have them, involved in test matches. At least like Akshay mentioned, Shabnam has been at least included in the squad for all the 3 formats. And I believe we will see her in action in the T20s, maybe for the last one. But other than that, we don't have options. And when you pay how the ball is behaved, how the pitch is behaved, there was no point of having a left arm seamer or a tearaway quick. I mean, let's not even talk about the rough patches. But somebody like Renuka Singh is not going to create a rough patch. She doesn't have the build, she doesn't have the pace, she doesn't have the run up. So the same thing would have, probably happened with Anjali Sarvani as well. I mean, they would have no movement. So she would have had to rely on the cutters. So it was kind of pointless.
Agreed. Meanwhile, sports fan also saying, on a lighter note, what is this new obsession with Smriti the bowler? I had absolutely no clue. Even I was like, bhai, chal kya raha? Matlab, this cannot be an actual tactic that they're looking at. This cannot, again, make no mistake, I don't want to discredit Smriti the bowler, but नहीं यार, मतलब तुम साउथ अफ्रीका के अगेंस्ट कर लो, लेकिन ऑस्ट्रेलिया किसी के सामने अगर आ गए भाई, मतलब खाओगे यार, बहुत गंदा वाला वो भी. So I don't know, like either she's using this as open nets कि बस practice ही कर रही है वो, बाकी और कुछ है नहीं इसमें. I don't see a long-term strategy building from this, but who knows? I mean, I hope she proves me wrong.
No, so basically the coaches wanted some of our top order batters to contribute with the ball. So Smriti said, "Don't worry, I'll do it."
अरे जमी है, जमी शेफाली बॉल डालती है वो.
Exactly, top order batters to chip in. So she's like, okay, pace, that's what you need, right? So I'm going to provide that. And I'll tell you what, had she not picked up Sune Lee's wicket in that particular game, maybe we may not have seen a roller arm over in the next few games to come, but ठीक है, ये एक option है, क्या ही करे.
में क्या ही करें. Anyways, that's that in terms of Smriti, the bowler, of course. Tomorrow, Sunday, the 30th of June. यहाँ पे तो of course we will be celebrating the Proteas winning the World Cup, but apart from that, day 3 भी होने वाला है test match का. I know Neha and Jeet aren't one bit amused with the way I am talking about the World Cup final, but again, guys, day 3, we're not going to preview it as such, but what are your expectations? What are your predictions? Jeet, how do you see this match panning out tomorrow?
Look, South Africa are heavily reliant on this pair. Once this pair is broken, the partnership itself is broken. Someone like Nadine de Klerk can still be dismissed very early in the day. Of course, Kapp also can be dismissed as Sunny. But the thing is, once this partnership is broken, you've got a lot of inexperience that follows in Aneri Dirksen, Sinalo Jafta. There is not a lot that you can expect out of them. And like I said, all that the Indian spinners need to do is be patient with the lines and with the discipline altogether. And you'll start seeing, the ball playing some tricks. It's day 3 after all, and sun has been beating down on this red soil pitch. So it's probably going to get a lot more drier, and you'll see a lot more purchase, and the pitch will start playing its tricks. So I just need the Indian spinners to be disciplined. If they can break this partnership, I think this probably in the first session itself, South Africa could be all out. And then whether India enforces a follow or not, I'm not too sure about that. But again, from South Africa's perspective, a lot rides upon this partnership, like I mentioned. Marizanne Kapp has to bat as long as she can. And like I said, ignore the runs, just bat out time. Just bat out time, you'll get the runs. And maybe when you look at the scoreboard, you'll probably be close to, saving yourself from getting a follow on. So for them, it's all about time here.
Fair enough. And again, in case you missed it, of course, they are playing on a red soil wicket here in Chennai. And red soil surface typically tends to dry a lot quicker. It crumbles a lot easily, which is why spinners come into play a lot more earlier than, say, a black soil surface. Neha, again, thoughts about day 3 tomorrow, South African batters. It is the experienced pair of Kapp and de Klerk. Do you think the Indian spinners can get that early breakthrough they're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, day 3 is, of course, the all important day. And for South Africa, their prospects depend largely on, how Marizanne Kapp can bat it out, get to a competitive 100 or 150 or so. Even the partnership with Nadine de Klerk, as Jeet rightly said, will be very imperative because there isn't a lot of batting experience, as you keep coming down. But to answer your question, yes, I think India's fortunes will again largely depend on their spinners to come good. But even for the spinners, they need that support from the fielders. So I hope, the coaches have a quick word with them on, how to be better on the field, just be more proactive, try to avoid those singles and doubles, and just, be much better in taking those catches, because catches at the end of the day win you matches as well. So in that sense, I think there will be conversation about this, but the Indian spinners will have to come good because right now, we've also discussed about the pitch and how that's going to deteriorate. So a lot depends on how the spinners come along.
There you go, you've heard it, and that's that from the review of day 2. And in terms of what we can expect tomorrow, it is going to be the moving day of the only test match between India and South Africa. Lots to look forward to. India will want to enforce the follow on and avoid batting once again in the test match. South Africa will be eyeing that draw right now. Fingers crossed their batters can do well. Fingers crossed Indian spinners can come into the play a lot more. That's that. Thank you so much for tuning in. And guys, once again, in less than 2 hours, Avnish and I will be here on this very same couch talking about the game, reacting to the game, and doing a bunch of shenanigans. Make sure you tune into our channel at 8 p.m. sharp. And that's that from us. Tomorrow, 5:30 p.m., we will be back reviewing the day 3 of the test match, of course, and talking about Marizanne Kapp's double century. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Stay safe, have a great Saturday, and drink just fine.